Aloha. Welcome, everyone, to our Genuine Gold podcast here at BYU Hawaii. My name is Leigh Cummings. I'm the Alumni Relations Manager here and a proud graduate of BYU Hawaii. On this week of the PCC Anniversary Week and celebration for the 60th, we are so grateful to be with you here with special guests that flew in from Utah for this special occasion. And we're honored to have them on our podcast today. I'll introduce to you Eric and Carolyn Shumway at this time. President Eric Shumway served as our president, the eighth president of BYU Hawaii. And he and his wife, Carolyn, and their 7 children, 36 grandchildren, and 9 great grandchildren. Um, just a wonderful family. They also served as the temple president and matron in Tonga from 2007 to 2010. Um, they're going to share their special story with you today, how they met. And we also have a great topic today that we're going to focus on, which is the wonderful and unique relationship of BYU Hawaii and the Polynesian Cultural Center. And so I'm glad that they could be here to help us with this topic. President Shumway, as you know, also served as president of the Polynesian Cultural Center for 4 months. And so it's really unique that a president person has served in both institutions. So we're grateful again to have them here with us today. And so as I bring them on stage, onto our podcast at this time, I just want to take a moment to thank those that came today to our luncheon that we had this afternoon with our CCH BYU Hawaii alumni. We were upstairs in the Banyan Dining Hall celebrating the wonderful week that we had at the Polynesian Cultural Center and also celebrating our ties and relationships to our connections to BYU Hawaii. So again, grateful for all those that attended today. It was a great event, and we had the Shumways there with us as well. So now, without any further ado, I'm going to bring on President Eric Shumway and Carolyn Shumway. Aloha and welcome, President Mr. Shumway.
And aloha to all of you.
Aloha. Well, President and Sister Shumway, you've been here now for, has it been about a week? Did you come at the very beginning of this week, anniversary week?
That's correct.
Yes. How has it been? Tell us what your experience has been like.
Heaven on earth.
Why has it been so special to you, Sister Shumway? What has really stood out to you?
The spirit over all the people and all the events and just in the air, especially emanating from the temple. So, and the our lovely friends that we have had since 1966. We ran into many of them, so many hugs and kisses.
Yeah, President, you've been saying the same thing, right?
Oh, yes. And we have really appreciated those who have approached us and said, my name is so-and-so. And then I remember. But I always get nervous when they say, do you remember me? All I can say is I remember your face and your sweetness, but you'll have to tell me your name. But it has been just one repeated joy after another as we have met with in fact, we've encountered students that were in my class on the first day of my teaching here in the fall of 1966.
Oh, you're kidding.
I always ask them, well, now, did I do any damage to your life? and that's not a quest for a compliment. I did come with a newly minted master's degree, but I hadn't had a lot of teaching experience. But I dived in, and the Aloha environment here was so strong that we became bonded very quickly with students, with faculty, and with members of the community.
Now, when you moved here, you moved from where?
We moved right straight from Provo. I graduated in the summer of 1966 with a master's degree. Carolyn had just had our second baby, and we arrived in Honolulu and were met by Ish and Carmen Stagner. They
Oh,
were the assigned faculty members to take care of us for the first week of our lives here. And when we got out here, we discovered that, and this was a really a miraculous thing, that we were not going to be living in an apartment in Laie, but we had an apartment or a house in Haula, where we loved it. And for 4 years, we lived in Haula, our first 4 years in Hawaii, connected with BYU Hawaii. And that was a fantastic experience because we got close to the local people. My mission to Tonga helped. Her mission to the Southern States helped. And we were integrated very, 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 very quickly into the local environment of aloha and so on. Carolyn, what do you remember of those first days here?
Well, there were 2 other faculty members, so they didn't have room for 3 of us in Laie, so they put those 3 of us in Haula, and we had a wonderful little time in a courtyard of 3 homes together. But the best part, even though we loved them very much, and one of them was our bishop, Mayfield, the best part was what Eric just said, becoming local. We feel that's a great privilege to have become local. And so we still consider those people that we loved so much. We can just feel like they're relatives, they're family. Oh, we loved them. They loved us too.
oh, geez. Well, speaking of family, I mean, we have a few pictures of your family, right? Shall we show some of them?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring that up. Okay, this is not the first picture you took here in Laie, right? When was this taken?
This was taken just after we got back from graduate school in Charlottesville, Virginia. We were here for 4 years, lived in Haula. I actually became the first bishop of the Haula Second Ward, served there for 2 years, went back to Charlottesville. And then when we moved back, there was a house for us in Laie where we moved in. And this picture was taken about a year. This is 1973. And these are 5 of our 7 children. Aaron, on my left, sitting in front of me, was born in Virginia, and he was our 4th. And then Heather came just a few months after we came back here to Laie. And that was taken by Ron Safeston in front of the temple in
I remember.
1973.
Oh, now were you moved to Laie at that point?
Yes.
Okay, sorry if I missed that. And were you in the house that Aaron lives in now?
No, that came later. We
Okay.
lived on Yosepa Street, right by the elementary school, where our
Okay.
kids could jump over the fence in the school ground. And then we had a chance to get a lot over on Nanilualu, where we built our home. And that home was completed in 1976. And that's the home that is still there. And that's where our son Aaron lives.
Yes.
And by the way, that home was built on the strength of the magnificent aloha of the local people. We had over 100 volunteers come and help us build that home.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
we had a big luau at the end, and Carolyn wrote out over 100 thank you note cards to those who built. So it kind of became a community project. And it was initiated by our Tongan brothers and sisters in the beginning, but pretty soon everyone jumped in. And we remember that aloha experience with very sweet feelings, because it demonstrated the love was more than just the word aloha. It was actually coming and giving. Some people would show up. Hey, I've got 2 hours, put me to work. Or I've got an hour and a half, put me to work. And so it was a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yes.
The design of the house, some people say, well, now who designed that home? Well, that home was designed by Carolyn's brother.
Oh.
And it was a block home, and it was very, very confined and very, very efficient. And I just want everybody to know that the KLAkai had a lot of fun with it. On April Fool's Day, they put a big sign out. Brother Shumway gets the Carthage Jail Award for the unique architecture in Laie. So we got the Carthage Jail Award for that architecture building because it looked so solid. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. And again, it was a tremendous blessing to be the recipient of all that love and all of that attention here in Laie.
And we have Marvin Stone mostly to thank that we got that lot, because we were serving as mission leaders in Tonga when the lots were starting to be let out to people to buy. He contacted us and said, if you want one, I will save you one. Wow. So kind of him. And then two of our main helpers were Viliami Tolutau, who's like a son to us, and Lance Chase, who became our bishop, but was in our neighborhood all the time. We watched all of his kids grow up, and now we share a common great-granddaughter, although he's in heaven. Lance Chase is in heaven.
Yes. Such wonderful people you're mentioning. You know, we saw the Stones today, right, at our luncheon.
Yes.
To see them there. You know, and speaking of the community coming out with the outpouring of love, I felt that, you know, I don't know how old I was, a teenager maybe, you know, and President, you came over and you helped my family with our roof when we were replacing the tiles, the shackles, I think we call it, on our roof. And I was just so impressed with, you know, you just showed up one day and we were all there outside and you said, okay, put me to work or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, as long as we're mentioning your family, Lay, we want everyone to know who's listening to this that Lay was a perfect child and teenager. She was such a good, wonderful girl and beautiful and full of light and truth.
Oh,
It still is.
oh, thank you. I'm going to pay you tomorrow for those wonderful compliments. Growing up in the Laie Second Ward was a definite blessing for me, growing up around the Shumways. So I truly have become a better person because of the two of you. Thank you. Love you both. Okay, so here we have a few pictures. Let's see an updated picture of your family. What a beautiful picture in front of the temple. This might not be the most current.
Yeah, that's 2005.
Oh, it's not the most current. So sorry. Yeah. But so you said you had how many grandchildren now? 7 children.
We have 36 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren.
Wow. That is amazing. And anyone out on a mission right now?
We have a son in the MTC, or a grandson in the MTC right now, going to Boston.
Angela's son, Bengal.
Okay.
And then we have kind of Hanai's grandson going to Cambodia.
Oh.
Evan Foster.
Oh, yes.
He's
Nina.
been close to us.
Yes, Nina. Okay. And so your children, let's start from the oldest. I know Marilee, right?
Yes.
Where does Marilee live?
Why don't we take turns,
Go
each
ahead.
kid? Okay, Marilee and her family She raised her family with her husband, who's a PA. He runs the medical clinic in Duchesne. That's east of Salt Lake City. And they had 5 children, and they love it there, and people love them. And Marilee's done music and drama on the stage, the high school. It's been a great time for them, for their whole family.
She's always been so talented, Marilee.
Well, Marilee, in many ways, was the perfect child to have at the beginning because she grew up fast, was very intelligent, and became kind of a surrogate mother to the rest of the children. By the time she was 8 or 9 years old, we felt very comfortable leaving the house in charge with her while we went out if we needed to go out. But
Yeah.
then Angela is the second. She married a man from Boston. They're now living in Provo, just over the fence from us, in fact, and we're in the same ward. She has 4 children. Jeffrey, our next child, is a professor at BYU Provo in Latin American history, and he has 7 children.
Wow.
And he was just made full professor back last year and published another book. So we're very proud of him. After him is Aaron, and everybody pretty well knows Aaron around here. He was a delightful child and a delightful adult. I married a beautiful girl from the Philippines, and we're so happy that the Shumway name is continuing on here in Laie and in Hawaii. In fact, May Shumway, his wife, teaches music in Haula, and that's the job Carolyn had years ago. She taught music in Haula and in 4 other schools. Maybe you can share that, Carolyn.
May also has choirs at home, children's choirs, and all sorts of things she does. We just love her and her huge family from the Philippines. There were 10 children. Almost all of them attended here and graduated. But so now we are on, who did we leave off? Heather. Oh, I wanted to say that Jeffrey's daughter, Sarah, has arrived as a freshman here, and she loves it so much.
Oh, that's
She
great.
lives in the dorms, of course. So Heather, they all went to Kahuku High School and had wonderful, wonderful friends. They still keep in touch with their friends. So Heather is in Heber City, Utah. She also had 7 children.
Wow.
And she has a great grandson. I mean, she has 1 grandson. So Aaron and Heather both received a grandbaby about the same time, their first. And Heather's husband teaches special ed, and she teaches voice in her home. They're a wonderful family.
Emily is in Mountain Green. She and her husband, after they were married, served in the Peace Corps. She served a mission in Germany and then served in the Peace Corps in Panama with her husband. And they now live in Mountain Green, Utah. He practices law in Salt Lake City. They have 3 boys, and they're doing very well. She is a member of the Arts Council in Morgan Valley and conducts every year a big hallelujah chorus. Actually, it's the Messiah concert every Christmas, and she does the Lamb of God every Easter. So she's heavily into music. And Doug, our last...
Wait.
Go ahead.
Since we're talking about the Polynesian Cultural Center as well as other things, Emily learned how to do all the Polynesian dances from Suliana Afeaki, that's Sia's mother, in Tonga while we were mission leaders. So she was only about 7 years old, 8 years old, but Suliana did such a great job teaching her all those dances that by the time she was 15 years old here in Laie, Fosse Tovo hired her to dance in the night show. For one thing, she had more olive skin than my fair skin, so she didn't look so starkly white, and she had big hair. curly hair, big hair, and she knew those dances. Oh, what a joy that was for her to dance in the night show. And she's been doing certain dances ever since at certain events. She'll do this or that dance. It's really wonderful.
Hey, we should have had her
Another little
alumni.
detail about, oh,
What?
We should have had her join us for the alumni show.
We wish. Someday.
10 years is the next
another
one.
little detail about Emily. She served a mission in Austria, and preaching the gospel door to door is very difficult in that area. And so the mission president, thinking of ways to engage the public in a positive way, invited Emily to actually design and put on luau programs for people in various communities. So much of her mission was actually dancing and singing and doing Polynesian kinds of activities with people in Austria.
And teaching the women how to hula. Oh, did they ever love that?
So
Non-members, lots of non-members learning to hula.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, I have two of your children joining us right now. I don't know if they surprised you. But you folks, we were going to do a little surprise with you. But I'm glad. It's great to have Marilee here and Aaron.
Aloha.
Hey, how's it over there, Marilee? Is it getting
Hey,
cold
my friend.
in Utah?
In Utah, it's getting to be fall.
Okay, it must be so pretty. Yeah.
the youngest son, Doug, is now living with his wife. He met her here in BYU, Hawaii. They both served missions and then married later. They have 4 children. She graduated in vocal performance, has a master's degree in vocal performance. He graduated from BYU Law School and now practices law in Salt Lake City.
Got
And
it.
it's also a sweet thing for all of us that each of our children, each of our boys, 3 boys, are members of bishoprics. Aaron is a bishop, and Jeff and Doug are both serving in bishoprics, and that means a lot to us.
They're not giving you a break, huh, Aaron? You were just stake president recently.
I'm having so much fun. TVA war, the best.
Oh, yes, TVA. That's
As long as we're talking about our children, one of the great delights of all of us when we get together is when they speak pidgin to each other. Oh, how we love it. We love it so much.
you haven't forgotten, huh?
It makes us laugh. And we kind of love pidgin.
Oh, can you guys speak Pidgin, President, Sister Shumway?
What is that?
Can you speak Pidgin?
No.
No, we're just admirers. But we gave each one of our children a New Testament in Pidgin language called the Jesus Book.
Oh,
And,
I've seen that.
They read from that, and it's very beautiful the way they read it. And Pidgin suddenly becomes a language that communicates deep spiritual feelings, as well as the local kind of language that we use day to day.
And we gave President Callaway one at his inauguration.
Oh, that's cute. Aaron, are we going to use that on campus too?
Maybe not yet, but you certainly can learn a lot when you read it and just see how that translation what that would mean to people who speak Pidgin.
That's cool. Super cool. Well,
I love how it describes Heavenly Father, the big boss guy up in the sky.
the big boss guy.
Big boss in the sky.
I love that too. Well, with the two of you here, would you like to share something about Mom and Dad before we say goodbye? Maybe a special memory about either about Laie or about your parents, or both.
Sure. One of my favorite memories, among actually so many, is the Tongan Brass Band coming onto our front lawn at Christmas and in a semicircle and playing the most beautiful music for us. And the whole family would all come out on the porch and listen and laugh and smile and share in the spirit. And that has never happened before or since anywhere I've been. But that's one of my favorite memories. And knowing how much my parents and my family love the Tongan people, and just all of my 40-year Kahuku 1983 Red Raiders for Life reunion is happening right now, like this very minute.
Oh, and you're
in
not
Hawaii.
here?
And I'm not there because I'm with my daughter who is fighting breast cancer right now in Utah. But just looking at the pictures and remembering the great people that enriched our lives every day, every minute. Mr. Payton came to our class reunion meal, and his wife, and just, the great, my sister Mo'o and sister Puck, sister Kikoha, Masayo, my teachers and the Menehune team, and my young women leaders, and sister Enos. I just, we were in the same ward, Lay.
We were.
They just molded us.
Yeah.
Sister Chase and sister Dykes and sister Baldridge and sister Kalama. And
I think Dad was your class advisor. Is that right?
Yeah, he was my favorite in the whole world, and he mentored me. Your dad mentored me so well.
You were a great president. He loved working with you.
He empowered me a lot, so I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing that, Marilee. Thank you. Sorry you're missing your reunion.
Yeah, it's okay.
Aaron, do you want to share something?
One of my special memories, and this goes back to my earliest memories, is Mom and Dad would take us when they'd go visit people. So even though we'd moved to Laie, my parents, my mom especially, still had a lot of friends in Kahana Valley. And so I remember as a kid driving in the station wagon, going and visiting people and saying hi and bringing things to them. Or here in Laie, when we'd go visit Mom Enos or go sing for the invalid mother of my dad's secretary, Sally Hall, Sister Alberti. Her name, Sister Alberti. Yeah. And so learning from a young age through their example of showing the aloha that people had so willingly shared with our family. And so that was special for me.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Great people again that you've shared, some wonderful names that I remember. You should have seen at this luncheon we just had a few hours ago. Mom and Dad, again, they're like the celebrities on campus. Everybody wants a picture with them, a selfie. Like Dad said, 100 hugs, was it, President? 100 hugs, 100 kisses everywhere you're going.
Well, if I could just add one thing then about that. So growing up at home, and Mayor, I'm sure this happened to you, when people would compliment to us, oh, your parents are this, we'd be like, what? I mean, my dad is just, he comes home and he tickles us on the, we wrestle and we do yard work on Saturdays. Like, are you talking about the same person? My mom, she's just a mom. And so they were very good at just being regular people, regular parents who taught us well. And I'm just really grateful for that side of them, that they were just mom and dad at home.
Yes, yes.
Well, Lay, I have one more. So in Utah here, every once in a while, some sistas from Koku class of 83 get together. And it was my turn to host about, I don't know, a year ago. Yeah. And so we always try to figure out where we're going to go. And so they were like, let's go to your mom and dad's. They live in Provo. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, yeah. Okay. And then we want them to stay because we want them to be with us in our little reunion. So it was Jolene Kanahele Keli'iliki.
Yes.
Meala Heater Sikahema.
Yes.
Hia Elkington Tuimaune.
Yeah.
Momi Tu'ua. Hold on. Sina Fanga.
Yeah.
And Wendy and I. And me. So we're sitting in my parents' kitchen. And we had, Jolene made her beef tomato. I mean, everybody brought stuff. We had musubi, all this kind of yummy stuff. And then we were sitting around, and they looked at my parents, all of these women, these powerful, strong, beautiful women who are now, our age, my age. I'm 58.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a little bit of silence. And my dad said, he like made eye contact around the room, around the table. And he said, it occurs to me right now that Carolyn and I were at the deathbed of every one of your parents who passed away. And then not only that, he shared with each girl, with each woman, something that was said in that very tender moment. And there were tears. It was just amazing. And like Aaron said, we didn't get to go to all of those special moments with them, but just like every single woman sitting there who had lost a parent, my parents were there at a critical moment for them. And that meant so much to all of us.
Wow. That says a lot about your parents being there at those tender moments for those families. I've seen it in your brother too. He's come to our family, our home when Dad had passed on. And so, yes, it continues. Just we've been raised by great parents, and we're just blessed to know them, and to know all of you, and to have them a part of our BYU and PCC Ohana. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing those memories growing up, and for not forgetting your, pidgin English. So good. I hope to see you again, Marilee. I know I'll see Aaron down the street.
Yep.
Well, love you both. Take care.
Thanks.
Love you.
Okay, mahalo.
My darling.
Bye.
Love you.
Okay, well, geez.
Thank
that-
you, Len. Thank you.
Was that a little surprise there?
Yeah.
I have to thank Aaron for helping to orchestrate that. And we tried to reach out. He tried to reach out today to everybody, but some were busy, as you know. Yeah. Well, I know. Let's look through some more of our slides, but because there's some cool pictures in here from when you were president. Let's see if I can bring that up again. Here we are. Okay, so we talked about the family. Now, President, you started. What year again was that?
We came in 1966, and BYU Church College of Hawaii and BYU Hawaii became the only place where I practiced my profession as a teacher and administrator. Left in 1970 to go back to Virginia to complete a PhD. Came back in 72. And then in 75, I was asked to be the chairman of the Communications and Language Arts Division. In 1977, I was called to be the stake president of the BYU Hawaii stake. And in 1980, I was invited to be the academic vice president with Elliot Cameron, who was the president at that time. And in 1986, we were called to be mission presidents or mission leaders in Tonga, and left 86 to 89, doing Alton Wade's tenure as president, came back in 89. And in 1991, I was made academic vice president again, and then invited to be the interim president of PCC while they searched for a new president. It was Elder Oaks who actually invited me to do that. I didn't give up my academic vice president's job at BYU, but I was on loan to PCC. And
Wow.
Here is a photo of our being greeted at the Polynesian Cultural Center with a Maori greeting, which is always a little bit unnerving, even though it's friendly. It's a little bit unnerving to see such fierceness, which is supposed to be representing respect. And fortunately, I kept my composure, thankful to my wife. I was holding on to her hand, as you see. And that began 4 months of one of the most important conversions of my life. Yes, I loved the Polynesian Cultural Center. We visited over there. I was invited many times to come over and speak at the Tongan events. And when Tongan VIPs came in, I was invited over because of my interest in the language and the culture. But it wasn't until 1991 that I got a deep experience in not only the workings of the center, but the spiritual underpinnings of the center, and realized that the center is actually part of the prophecies. Every prophecy having to do with BYU, Hawaii, and Laie really embraced the Polynesian Cultural Center. When David O. McKay in 1955 dedicated the ground for a college, no students, no faculty, no buildings yet. The podium was built in the middle of a cane field, and he stood there and prophesied what the school was going to be. I mean, it was in detail. This school will be this and that, and students who go to this school will go forth and be ambassadors for peace internationally. And then in the prayer, he dedicated the ground, and he dedicated ourselves. He said, we dedicate ourselves to the service of the great plan of salvation, and that this town, this college, and the temple will be a missionary factor that will embrace not only thousands or tens of thousands, but millions of people will come to Laie, searching to know the significance of this place. I think many of you have heard stories about that transcendent, dramatic prophecy. I remember when we first came here, meeting certain people who were actually present, and they heard the prayer, they heard the prophetic utterance of David O. McKay, and they kind of rolled their eyes. Millions of people coming to Laie. I mean, what kind of magic would that involve? Well, it wasn't magic. It was the Spirit of God that moved on the people that were assigned to work out the details. It was President McKay's authority, it was his courage, and it was his personality, but it was many, many people and many, many local people that did the day-to-day work of bringing about what we see today at the Polynesian Cultural Center. So as I said in my address yesterday, we cannot say this enough. We cannot speak of it enough, because we realize that in such a dramatic and important way that this combination came together, the temple, the school, and the Polynesian Cultural Center. It is absolutely miraculous. And the thing we must never forget is that phrase, missionary factor. In other words, all of this is really ultimately to be a profound missionary effort to the whole world. And the world comes here and they feel the Spirit, and the Spirit of Aloha, as has been expressed many times this past week, is really the Spirit of Christ, the Spirit of love, the pure love of Christ. And so it's been a wonderful thing to be able to review that history, read those statements. And while I'm on this, let me just read what President Hinckley said about this back in when the Halila'a Boulevard was dedicated. Let me read it to you. I read it yesterday in my speech, and I love it. He said, "We have here something that we have nowhere else in the world. The beautiful temple with all of its environs. We have Brigham Young University, Hawaii, formerly the Church College of Hawaii, and we have the Polynesian Cultural Center. And they work together and become," now this is the thing I want to emphasize, "and become one great and beautiful and magnificent campus." So the prophet of the church sees Laie as the campus, and these entities are all part of the same campus, setting forth the beliefs, the practices of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then he said, "I love the sacred ground and I consider it sacred, dedicated to the great work of the house of the Lord and this great school as a temple of learning and the PCC." Then he says, "I pray that with all we do in Laie, that we will never, never lose sight of the fact that there is something spiritual, something wonderful, something associated in the kinship with the Almighty in this area." And, you know, for me, that is more than just chicken skin. That goes down into my soul. And our prayer is that every person who comes to this campus, every person who teaches on the campus, every person who works at the Polynesian Cultural Center will realize, hey, I am in the middle of the fulfillment of one of the most dramatic prophecies of the Restoration. How the Lord brought about Laie as to be not only a gathering place for the saints in Hawaii with the temple, but would be a gathering place for all of Polynesian cultures and for the entire world who come here to the Polynesian Cultural Center. Carolyn and I have left Hawaii after we finished our mission in Tonga in 2011. Everywhere we go, we encounter people who come to Hawaii. And my instant question, but did you go to the Polynesian Cultural Center? And every time when someone has been to the center, they will respond the way a woman responded just a few weeks ago. She said, "Oh, let me tell you my experience in the Polynesian Cultural Center." They not only praise the food and the programs, the magnificent dancing and singing and so on. They talk about that special spirit that they feel when they encounter the students at BYU Hawaii. And it is the students at BYU Hawaii that make the difference. It's not to diminish in any way the blessing of those full-time people who labor every day to make it one of the top places in the world to visit. But the students carry the aloha spirit, the youth, the vigor, and the righteousness. There is something about a righteous youth performing, advising, guiding that brings about this tremendous experience. So anyway, to be here this past week, to enjoy this, but knowing the history, and that's what I don't fear it, but I regret that there are some people who are caught up in the present and they don't realize this vast, powerful history of miracles and goodness and sacrifice that has brought about the Polynesian Cultural Center. And I tried in my speech the other day to correct something that I've heard many times. It's not really a correction, but it's maybe an emphasis. We hear people, oh, the Polynesian Center is a wonderful place for students to work where they can pay their way through school. And I said, no. That's well, that's true. The big part of this is that PCC is part of their education. It's their application of what they learn. It's their ability to learn how to engage the public, how to be professional, how to be competent and dependable in the world of work. And then when you have so many international students who are speaking English as a second or third or fourth or fifth language, for them to be able to engage in English with visitors from all over the world, it's a wonderful opportunity, not only for them to practice, but for them to engage heart to heart. I just received a note from Mele Fa'onelua Taumapiao from the islands of Tonga. She grew up in a little island of Lifuka in Ha'apai. And she turned out to be a brilliant student and went on to be a principal at Leona. But she wrote me and told me what the PCC did for her. She said, I was this little girl on this tiny island, but the PCC opened up the world to me, where I was engaging with people from not only the United States, but from China, from Europe, from South America. And she said, it opened my eyes and it opened my heart and it opened my opportunities to become, truly an educated, contributing human being in my own island. So anyway, the PCC is its own university. I met a man in Tonga who told me, he said, well, I was kicked out of BYU Hawaii, but I graduated from the Polynesian Cultural Center. He was joking, of course, but he told me what he learned at the Polynesian Cultural Center became his profession. And that was hospitality. At that particular time, he was managing an airline out of Tonga. And now he's a very well-known commentator on the radio and on TV. So anyway, we call this program Joined at the Heart. And that is truly, it's joined at the heart because we have the same circulation system. And that's the students. The students circulate through both of us, PCC and BYU. And they learn in both places. And they're guided by inspired teachers on the one hand, supervisors on the other hand, and they learn how to do. And most of all, they're engaged in an environment where they're safe and they're also invited to contribute. Now, of course, they're learning their own culture too, but they're also speaking about their culture. They're teaching about their culture. It's one thing to know your culture, but to be able to express it and actually bring people into kind of a conversion experience in the culture that they have. It's a wonderful thing. There's nothing like it. When President Hinckley said, there's nothing like it in the world, that's true. This is unique, where you have many cultures coming together in a business that is tied directly to a university, and they become symbiotic in every way, and the product is fantastic. So when a graduate of BYU Hawaii comes away with a diploma, he also comes away with a resume from PCC. Mm-hmm. That's a powerful combination as he engages in the world. So anyway.
And let's add that over all of this is the light of the temple. The temple. I hope we all realize how much influence that temple has on all of us here. And I also think that this triad that Eric has been mentioning and that President Hinckley was talking about is one of the churches, one of the Lord's greatest way to gather Israel. They are doing it. This triad is gathering Israel beyond the veil at the temple and in these two wonderful, very lively places.
Yeah, I love that idea that Carolyn has just expressed. And the way I believe it and the way I've experienced it with others, people come to the center, they feel something special, they enjoy themselves, they sense the aloha spirit, and I believe that that experience is recorded in their souls. And when they leave here, they may forget, but at some point when they encounter missionaries or have the opportunity to hear the gospel, suddenly that memory will burst forth. Yes, I remember that feeling. I remember that experience at the Polynesian Cultural Center. So anyway, it's been a great and wonderful thing to see how, knowing some of the, when we came here, the PCC had been operating for only 3 years. We came in 66, it opened in 9. So things were still kind of being worked out. They hadn't yet made a profit. They had lost money every year. And as I pointed out in my talk the other day, the year we arrived was the year they made their first profit for that particular year. And of course, it's a very volatile kind of business to be in the tourist business. And everything that might happen in the world affects people who travel. I saw a headline today that people are being discouraged from traveling because of the war in, now I don't know whether that will affect, but war, typhoons, volcanoes, strikes, all of these things have affected the center. And God bless those people who have endured and carried on, sometimes taking cuts in salary and then hanging on with, with COVID being closed for nearly a year, yet still surviving, still. And I think that this is a testimony of what the Lord intends for this place. The one thing that did occur to me, Lay, is in the history book that was just published by David Hanneman and Lanier Britch, there are columns, side columns that feature students and workers at the Polynesian Cultural Center under the theme, what PCC means to me. And when I read the book, I read those things first. I wanted to hear. And then the thought occurred to me, there's another question that we all should ask ourselves when we who work at the center or at BYU. And that is, what do I mean to PCC? I know what PCC means to me. Now, what do I mean? In other words, what is my contribution? What am I doing for the Polynesian Cultural Center to make it as great and as good as it can be? And that is a reminder that all of us have that responsibility to stay on top of things. And I love that notion.
Well, none of these great events and glorious bursting open of the Lord's love for his people would have been possible if Joseph Smith had not gone into the grove of trees and prayed and had Heavenly Father and Jesus appear to him and direct him to restore the true church of Jesus Christ to the earth. And all that comes after, Book of Mormon, prophets, all of those huge, huge blessings upon the entire earth, not just the church.
Yeah. And the the number of temples that are being built in the world is is to me all part of the same program. Even though we have our part of the vineyard here, we're all part of that same program that ultimately is to embrace, embrace the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ and the temple blessings. I think I told this story yesterday when the ambassador from Cambodia came here in 2004, Ronald Ng. He talked about what the Cambodian students taught him about the value of BYU Hawaii and the Polynesian Cultural Center. And he was so moved by it. And when he stood to speak to the group that we were in, he said, you know, I've lived under many churches, the Church of Moscow, the Church of Beijing, and the Church of Hanoi. And if we had had your church in Cambodia, we would have never had the wars that brought about so much death in Cambodia, especially. And now, of course, Cambodia is getting a temple. It's under construction right now. And to me, that is such a glorious thing. And we have a person that we call our own grandson, Evan Foster, who is going to be speaking at his missionary farewell this Sunday, and he's going to Cambodia. And so all of this has come together in a very, very special way for us.
Yes. Well, I love everything that you shared. It really just kind of strengthened my testimony of this place and reminded me about that talk that President Hinckley gave at the dedication. As I was taking the tour, Laie and BYU Hawaii tour yesterday for the alumni, Lanier Rich and his wife was on our tour. And so I said, you know, you could be doing this. I don't need to I can take a break. And he said, no, you go ahead, Lay. And, you know, he emphasized the same thing as we were going past the temple, just what I've been hearing from both of you. It's really missionary work. You know, what this place is going to be a missionary factor for the church. You know, and he reminded all of us, remember that with the PCC's tours to the Temple Visitor Center every day, you know, it has made this visitor center second in the church for referrals. I said, yes, it's been that way for some time. Now with our new mission here, the Hawaii Laie mission, you know, that to me, when I first heard it announced last year, I just thought immediately of President McKay's speech and prophecy. But I want to thank you both for being on our podcast today. And just to see you, the two of you here and hear your voices has really been special. You know, seeing your children here too. It's just been wonderful. I'm seeing a lot of the comments on. Can we go to some of those right now that have shared their love for both of you and your family? I'll take a few of them at this time, if you don't mind. You might remember Benjamin Lim. I was just in Seattle for their 25th anniversary, President. You were a big part of, with Rowena and Napua, of helping to advance the alumni office. But they celebrated their 25 years of the chapter, our longest and oldest chapter for BYU Hawaii. Ben is now part of our executive board, helping us to train these new chapters, which I'm very grateful for. And we just have a new, some leadership in place that we just announced at the event. So he sends his love to you from Washington. There was also Elaine Merrill said she's so happy to see the both of you. Yes. Miss seeing her on campus. There was somebody from Tahiti that chimed in. A big aloha to President Shumway, Vice President of BYU Hawaii in 1988. Maruru, Robert. And from Canada, it's somebody that said hello. You might remember our neighbor, Kia Elkington. Aloha, Kia. It's great to see you. We missed you for the brass band this week with Eddie. I think she was in the brass band. Mary Tui.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Marilee's best friend growing up
Oh, Marilee's best friend. That's so cool.
in the neighborhood.
Aloelele. Thank you. Another one, Ian Viliami says hello to you, Ofa'atu. And another neighbor down the other side of Naniloa Loop. Aloha, Moses. Thanks for all you did for PCC's anniversary. I know that was a busy week for all of you. Here's a longer one, Jane Dallin. She was there in the 80s. Showcase Hawaii. Yes, and great to see all these wonderful alumni. We had a showcase alumni, some performances by some of our alumni at our luncheon today. That was really great. Here, you might remember this person too.
Oh, Sister Day.
Aloha, Cecilia. She's in Santa Fe, traveling. Okay. Great to hear from you. Mahalo. Let's see. And someone that showed up in our lunch today, Esther Macy. Thank you, Esther. It was great to have you with us, you and Pat. And thank you for joining us on our podcast. Okay, someone else wanted to say hello to you and share their experience at the PCC and help them unlock their hidden talents. Manu, I think Manu is from Tahiti, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, PCC surely did teach a lot of us about our culture and let us perform to tourists. You know, we all learned to do to dance and to for me personally, working in the Hawaiian Village, speaking in front of a lot of people, I was very shy growing up, but I had to learn to speak to a group of people, and that really helped me working there in the Hawaiian Village. As another comment from Sister Burr says, "Thank you for sharing this. She adores you both." Under their stewardship. We saw Richie there. Aloha, Richie. Thank you for being at our event. Let's see. Yep. Another alumni shared along from Tahiti also. Yes. We are so grateful, you know, that we are focusing more on bringing more students from the target area of Oceania and the Asia Rim. So we're at almost at 70%, if I'm not mistaken, and hope to get to at least another 75% and increase our numbers there. So aloha from Utah, Esther Vai. So there's our alumni. I mean, sorry, our guests, our audience that was joining us today, President Sister Shumway. Thank you again for being on our podcast, our Genuine Gold podcast.
Thank you so much. It's our real honor to be engaged again with the people that we love the most.
Oh, we have felt it being, as Sister Shumway said earlier in the show, it has been a heaven on earth having you here, you know, just a part of our ohana. But before we go, would you like to share any final comments?
I think, excuse me, Carolyn, would you like to offer a final?
Well, one of the greatest day in our family's life is when Eric opened his mission call, and it was to Tonga. He didn't even know where it was. We knew no Tongans, but without that call, I don't think we would be here today and enjoying all these wonderful, wonderful blessings, including his just finishing a book about Tui One Pulotu, the wonderful gifted carver who did the double-hulled canoe, the Iosepa, with much help. Anyway.
And his wife.
And of course, Mahana. Oh my goodness. Mahana. The whole family. We love them all. Their daughter married my cousin.
Oh, that's great.
Well, my final comment would be simply a repetition of what I said a while ago, that if we understand our history, if we understand what the Lord expects of us, and if that history and if that expectation can go into our hearts like fire, that will keep us going, moving. And it has a lot to do with faith. It a lot has to do with what I call the real heroism of our people, and that is to patiently press on from day to day, doing their best in whatever assignment they have in this wonderful triad of learning with Temple, BYU, Hawaii, and the PCC. God bless you all. Love you all. And let's meet again in 10 years.
Yeah. Or how about two, President Sister Shumway at the BYU 70th? Will you be coming?
Yes, we will plan on being here if we're, well.
If we can walk and talk.
Well, we plan to still walk and talk.
Yeah. Well, we will pray that you can join us again. If not 2 years, maybe sooner. We'd love to see you. See you again soon. Thank you again for joining us.
All right.
We love you both.
Aloha.
Bye-bye.
Aloha. Bye-bye. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us on this Genuine Gold podcast. We have been uplifted and inspired and reminded of the special mission of these wonderful institutions. And on the week of the anniversary of the Polynesian Cultural Center's 60th, it was wonderful to have the Shumways with us to kind of tie this all together and remind us all about the special and unique relationship we have with the Polynesian Cultural Center at BYU Hawaii and the Laie Hawaii Temple. Anyway, I want to thank you all again for being here, for your comments, for your shout outs, for your sharing experiences that you've had here. We hope to see you again on our next podcast, which will be next month. Please join us again for that and look for our advertisements on social media. I want to also thank Aaron and Marilee for joining us as representing the Shumway children, and grateful for your time. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up and say aloha and hope to see you again next month at our next Genuine Gold podcast. Have a great day, everyone, and happy Aloha Friday. Take care and aloha.